Okay. Hi, I'm Steve Westland. I live on Morgan Circle. I speak to you tonight to ask all members to reflect on the board's decisions regarding COVID over the last few years. Although I appreciate the board voting mask optional at the last board meeting, I'm here to say to you tonight that why should any board across the country think that they have the authority to make such a decision for masking children? Over the last few years, I've heard board members and educators in the community state, "I'm sorry, I wish there was something we could do. We have no choice. We're following guidelines. We have to abide by the Board of Health. We're following the science." How sad, how pathetic, how shameful. I did not once hear, "What do you want for your child? What do you feel is best for your child? How is your child doing wearing a mask?" Mr. and Mrs. Westling, I respect your decision regarding your children. This is unfortunate, unacceptable, and un-American. Our elected officials, bureaucrats, they failed the American family, the American parent, and the American child. I'm a Catholic male. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I'm a true believer, and I believe in forgiveness. I believe in my heart you are all good people. I know we have all been misled, manipulated, and treated dishonestly. It's abundantly clear that politicians, bureaucrats, and officials have lied about masks, vaccines, deaths, and transmission rates. Just this week, it was reported the CDC omitted data regarding vaccine efficacy. Here is my suggestion. Listen to the parents. Support what parents believe is best for their child. No one should have the authority to say what goes over my child's face or into their body other than me, my wife, or our doctor. No governor, CDC official, acting secretary of health has that authority. This COVID nonsense has been the single greatest power grab I've seen in my life. They say trust the science. What they really meant was trust the political science. Please reflect on what you've all done. Please consider your future decisions and how it will affect the most vulnerable among us, our children. I'm not going anywhere. I will continue to peacefully and kindly offer you my advice. You clearly need it at times. I'm not perfect and I make mistakes. It's tough, but I admit when I'm wrong and I ask for forgiveness. Even though some of you still voted to mask children a few weeks ago, I forgive you for what you've allowed to happen with the forced child abuse to these kids. Please reflect on your decisions, and I humbly ask you to listen to the actual experts, the real trusted advisors to our children, and that is the caregivers, grandparents, and the moms and dads. Thank you all. God bless. Appreciate your time.
All right, moving on, we have our student school board representatives. I'm assuming Nico's not here. So we have Isabella and Caitlin. Caitlin, all right.
My name is Isabel Frazier. I am the elected student council secretary for this year. And I thank you for allowing me to present this board meeting because I think it's really important. I'm sorry. And then my name's Kaylee Demarest. I'm the vice president for student council. And first we'll just talk about the health and safety protocols. The social distancing, we have been doing our best we can at full capacity. And obviously the masks are optional now, so we have the option if we want to wear them or not. And then updates specific to student council. First, we just wanted to say that we hope everyone is doing well and had a good past month. Right now, students at the high school are in the midst of scheduling for next year. The high school is offering some new courses next year, which is an exciting opportunity for the students. Next Friday, the senior students will be presenting our graduation projects. That's Friday, March 4th. Student council is sponsoring a breakfast for the teachers and staff before those presentations begin. Also, within the past month, the student body and the sports and entertainment management classes organized a food drive. It was during Super Bowl week, so we called it the Super Bowl of Giving, spelled SOUPDR. And over 200 canned food items were collected and donated to the food bank. In early April, we will be partnering with the National Honor Society to hold a spring clothing drive. And on March 24th, we plan to hold our next blood drive, which the last one was pretty successful. This month, the student council made banner cards for the teachers and staff
each year look better together. And we just wanted to say that we appreciate everything the school counselors do at our school.
Thank you both. Both welcome to stay or both welcome to leave and go home and study. It's entirely up to you.
Yeah.
And we'll tell your sponsor, Ms. Brenda, did a great job.
Thank you.
Brenda, thank you. Mr. Menace, could we make note for the record that Mr. Caparoso joined at 7:07?
All right, moving on, administrative reports, Mr. Chambers.
Thank you. Feels like I've been talking about the calendar forever, but it's on the agenda tonight, and hopefully you have a chance to review it. And if there are any questions, be happy to address them, because there are some unique aspects to it versus calendars of the past. And just to make sure I highlight them so everybody's fully aware, start of school's a little earlier, that was approved last month, and our break will be an additional week in January, having the students holiday break from the 26th of December through the week of January 6th. They would return on the 9th of January, and that is in place so that we can move into the new middle school meeting. There is some in-service in January, one for all district employees on the 6th of January, and one just for middle school staff on the 5th of January. And that would be, again, to work with those folks in getting acclimated with the new school and prepare for student arrival on the 9th. With that calendar, we're still able to end school pretty in a traditional fashion within the first week of June. Graduation would be on the 1st, last day for students on the 2nd. Those are some of the highlights. If there are any questions or issues. With that, I'll move into an opportunity to share some of our middle school transition planning that Dr. Trano and I have been working on, and also give you an opportunity if there's something I know you bring to the table, you're a parent, your community member, like what other things might you want to consider when we plan for that transition. So teachers and staff will, as soon as the building is available for us to, Dr. Trano will be holding his after-school PDs or any PD that he has, that we have in the calendar. He'll have the staff there at the new school. We plan in December, so prior to the students going on holiday break, we're gonna take them up in buses by team. They'll go through the school. They'll get a sort of orientation. They'll get a tour of the school, so they get that prior to the break, and then they'll start after the break. There's also discussions about a possible public open house, you know, when it's substantially complete prior to the break, possibly. But a lot of things are going to be dependent on, you know, when furniture is getting delivered. We're going to have the middle school staff begin packing up their classrooms in advance, probably, you know, anything that's non-essential that they won't need early December. And if we can take control of the school, we, you know, in the past have utilized moving companies and a variety of other resources to get those things moved over, hopefully all in advance of the holiday break. And the open house for the middle school, we moved from traditionally beginning of the year to February. So the parents for the middle school students will have an open house, and we'll use 2 days. Although parking is, you know, way better and way more than it is at the current school. You know, the capacity of we're expecting a high attendance rate, so you can have 2,000 cars trying to get in there. So we'll do it over 2 days. So that's part of it. Any other suggestions or ideas for middle school transition?
Hopefully we just stay on schedule and keep moving things along.
Right. And I know, I haven't talked to Mr. Daniels about it, but I know sometimes we then move our opening day ceremonies for a calendar year to a new facility. I think we utilize Muse when it opened. High schools traditionally, but this is a school again that will have high capacity to hold large groups of people. So possibly the following school year, we'll bring all of our staff there for opening day ceremonies at the middle school. And that gives everybody in the district an opportunity to, appreciate all the hard work that went into building that new school.
Do we have I hate saying it, Plan B if it's not ready?
Well, the greatest plan B is we stay where we are. I don't, maybe an Easter move, but that would be something that all we need to do is have the kids get dropped off at the other school. That would have to be the case. So yeah, the plan B is, we just stay put. One more thing, Hall of Honor. So for new board members, may not be something you're familiar with, but for board members who have been on the board for some time, the Hall of Honor was created to recognize individuals from the community for their academic, their athletic, their just community efforts, and we have that in the atrium of the high school. And there are some plaques up, and the process has been managed by an outside person. She's a retired Canon-McMillan teacher and administrator. Mrs. Berry very much loves this community, and but has since moved part-time to Florida. And there was some question pre-COVID about what's the process like? Who's picking? We'd like some more input, at least from the board at that time. So I was prepared right before COVID to present take it under our umbrella and our control. And then COVID hit, and then here we are a year and a half later. But an administrative regulation has been written to take the Hall of Honor and put it under our control. Morgan is going to take a big role in that. Mr. Crowley at the high school, being the principal, has a big role in that. We've incorporated the high school social studies chair into that. And one of the other aspects that is to have a school board member be on the nomination committee. So I'm presenting this tonight so you guys can start thinking about it if anybody's interested in being a part of that. We are accepting nominations right now, so our window is currently open. And Morgan, we have 12 nominees.
Yeah, more from during COVID, and we got 8 new ones.
Okay, and it's only been 2 weeks, so that's promising, because it really sort of fell off there for the last 3 or 4 years. And we want to resurrect it, and the best way to do it is for us to take full control. And so if you want to be a part of that committee, your responsibilities would be to, once we get all the nominations in, to review those and participate in the selection process. So there isn't a lot of additional work, just being a member of that committee. We have assigned roles to district staff to handle all the clerical and management of that. And if anybody's interested, I can share they are, answer questions. And there was a question, could there be more board members on it? Right now, it's written for one, but if there's a high level of interest, I'm sure we could make a combination.
I'd be interested in that.
You're already on it because because in addition to the district appointed people, anyone who is either an original member, you're on that small committee, and then anybody. So I don't know if you're an original member, may not be an original member, but yes.
It's not
So
the original class.
anyone who is an inductee gets a vote. So that's the other part. So you'll still get a vote, but if you want to be part of it, absolutely. You don't get 2 votes then.
Now, is Miss Berry, is she still interested in doing it, or?
She was happy that we were going to continue it, and what transpired prior to now is she met with me, went over all the processes she uses. I took what she told me, took the input I got from the board and from administration, drafted this. I shared it with her, and thumbs up. And Morgan's been in contact with her. She's currently in Florida, but I'm sure she'll assist in any way she can.
Good. That it?
Yes.
All right, Mr. McCullough.
Okay, so I've got two short components tonight. I'll start out with spring recruiting. Our hiring season for the district is quickly approaching. It'll be here before you know it. So each spring, it's kind of become customary for HR to attend some job fairs. So we have a virtual job fair that we're going to be attending over at Robert Morris on March 11th, and another one on March 23rd at the Pittsburgh Educational Recruitment Consortium. They actually hold it at Duquesne University, and we had been a really good time at that last year, getting some good looks at some good talent. So it's a large fair, so we're looking forward to that. We're already scheduling interviews for that, and it's a pretty neat system, so I'll keep you posted on how that goes. As you also might remember, we did an alert now blast for our substitute teacher academy the day after our last board meeting in January. So it was on a Friday. We had 11 people respond to us and actually pay the $30 fee, right, very quickly on that. So far, Rachel's been able to actually plug one of those in. That means that they've finished all of their paperwork, got all of their clearances, completed their observation, and are actually on the ground running. We have another one who's awaiting an observation and will be able to apply for their emergency certification, and they'll be good to go after that. So our problem is we've talked about in other areas, is the pre-employment process is slow, right? So once people get into the clearance piece of it and the physical and that type of thing, it tends to move more slowly, but Rachel does a very nice job in staying after people and bringing that to fruition. So we also interviewed and were able to add 3 day-to-day professional subs, teacher subs for the month of February. And 2 of those 3 had good experience, so it was a good injection into our sub pool. Fortunate in that way. We did some recent advertising also for the cafeteria, and we were able to get about 8 or 9 people to apply for those openings. And again, we're in that pre-employment paperwork kind of quagmire, but we'll stay after that and translate those into subs, hopefully. The second piece that I wanted to talk about was some of you that have been on the board may remember that we looked at a district branding proposal a couple years ago, and I'm happy to report that we've had some renewed interest in that branding concept with the new middle school opening up, and just some things that are going on within the district. We thought that it might be a good time to revisit that. So we've got some board members that talked about looking at a committee with Superintendent Daniels and Mr. Menitis, and we decided that we could probably accomplish what we need to accomplish with an ad hoc committee. Still have some rules that we have to follow with that. We're going to do some advertising and tentatively do a kickoff meeting next Wednesday, March 2nd at 2 o'clock. So if anybody else on the board would be interested in sitting in on that and seeing what we're into, you'd be most welcome. And we've got high hopes for that we can get some good traction out of that for the district. All right.
Thank you, Tim. Jordan?
Good evening. I have a brief transportation update to begin. So at this point, we are providing transportation for all extracurricular activities, all sports, anything after school. So I'm happy to report that's been working for us. Anybody needing transportation to a game, a competition, a practice, we are able to accommodate that at this point. So that has improved for us. We are fully staffed with our full-time bus drivers. We're working on increasing our sub-driver pool. Part of that success has been our in-house CDL program that I've been talking about. So we're running another class March 5th and March 12th. So it's a 2-day class. now 6 outside candidates partaking in that class. So every summer we seem to have a little bit of turnover, retirements. This year looked low, so hopefully we retain a lot, but the bigger pool we have, the more candidates we have, obviously that's something we look forward to getting through the program. On the middle school side, middle school project, we used a little bit of good weather we had on Monday to take a tour. So some of this will make a little bit more sense now that everybody's been able to have the opportunity to see the middle school. The shell of the building, so the exterior walls, the roof, are 95% complete. The only roof membrane that's not installed right now is the new central office, the new administration building. The windows have arrived after our visit, so the windows are on site and will start being installed here hopefully next week. The storefront, which is the other glass component, the window component that is in the cafeteria and the art room, as you've seen, that has started in the stairwells and will continue to be installed. So we're working very quickly to completely enclose that building. Temporary heat is running, as you can tell when we walk through. So the focus on the project at this point is the interior. The classrooms are starting to take shape. Framing is up. Drywall has begun. Painting is scheduled to start soon. So as they're drywalling on levels, we can start painting. The drywall has moved up. Electricians, HVAC are all focusing on the rough ends through the classrooms, the offices part of the building. The next step for the HVAC, so as we drove up on the left side, you saw the huge air handler units that were on the ground. Those all go on the roof. So as we continue to run the interior ducts, we'll put the units on the roof, connect them, and hopefully we'll have the permanent heat, permanent air conditioning running, and all work can continue in all parts of the building. We talked about a plan B. Hopefully we don't have to get to the plan B. If things continue to go the way they are, it looks very promising that we're going to hit our October date. We've mitigated our supply chain issues we told all our contractors at the very beginning of the contract, order your supplies now, we'll find a place to store them. That has worked for us. Everyone's been ahead of the game. You'll see tonight on the agenda, we had the furniture bid go out. So that was a major, where do we store that as well? We have a plan, so we can start moving forward on that. And as the building becomes ready, hopefully we can just move in the furniture as sections become ready and be in on time. So hopefully I can invite you out on another tour, and as areas become enclosed in, painted, drywalled, and finished, you get a really true look on what the building's gonna look like in its finished product.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive, Jordan. I mean, thanks to you and Dr. Torino, Mr. Dunlop, and Nathan for the tour. And I'd like to see it again in like 6 to 8 weeks, just to see
Yeah.
what kind of progress and have it start to visualize what it's really gonna look like.
Yep, absolutely, we can set that up.
Jordan, are you still looking for a warehouse for storage?
No, we were able to figure that out.
Okay,
Yep, we got a place.
that's all then.
Yeah, no, we're all set.
Is that it?
That's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Mansman.
My first item to report on this evening is just to give you an update on the budget timeline. I'm actively working to enter in all of the preliminary data into our system and then upload into PDE so that I can have for you at the April board meeting a proposed final budget with some recommendations. We're not having a meeting in March because a lot of the unknowns that are unknown for me will continue to be unknown. So I won't know those until probably March and be able to get those in for that proposed final. A big one being healthcare raise, and the state budget, which I still might not honestly know for the proposed final version of the budget. We can do it in April or May as long as we advertise the proper amount of time. My plan, at least now until I see how the month goes, is to have that proposed final be recommended in April, which will give us the month of May to let the state budget finalize, make some tweakings, and then be able to present a final budget in June. So I am, even though I'm not reporting on it, I am actively working on on the budget and our 5-year forecast. The 5-year forecast that I started last year, that is an ongoing goal to utilize our software to help forecast out 5 years. I really won't be able to grade me until we get to year 3, because I don't have enough, I need 3 years of data to be able to see where I stand. But this will be year 2, and I've already found a number of things I didn't know when I did it last year. So I'm working on that as well right now. I did attend my organization's state budget update. Just some highlights if you haven't heard or read PSBA articles. This is Governor Wolf's legacy budget. It's his largest budget that he's presenting. Will it pass the way he's presented it right now? Probably not in true form. There'll be some modifications, and it may take up through June. Some big asks on his budget in addition to huge BEF and SEF. BEF is basic education funding, and we get money based on the number of students, and there's a formula. And also SEF, which is our special education funding, and we spend about last year we spent about 12 million on special education, we got about 2 point something. They're expecting more money to run through that formula this year. That formula is a little less complicated than the basic ed one, but his proposal has money flowing through both those formulas. He's also proposed an increase to minimum wage. He has a tiered approach to reach $15 in 3 years. His other big item on the table is an increase to minimum wages for teacher salaries to $45,000. That one has been on there before, and that one takes a little bit more coordination. So that one I'm curious to see if it would stay to the end. I wonder. How he plans to fund this is not with a tax increase, but with charter school reform and having a uniform charter school tuition rate throughout the charter schools, which would be fabulous. Because we spend all different types. But there's a lot of work to be done. Right now, budget hearings are being conducted at the House and Senate, and I haven't really got a good pulse for them. Other than we probably will get some increase next year, more than we have in prior years, is the sense that I'm getting. So that's a big unknown in our budget, because if you recall, when I did the preliminary budget, or my draft preliminary, I say that because I didn't bring the preliminary budget before you retraced the resolution halfway. I did not increase state funding, I kept it level, so that will impact our proposed final budget, whatever increases we get. I do have some very few expenditures, to add that we've discussed between then and now, and I'll add back in all the grant expense and revenue back into the budget. The other 2 big things that, are on my plate is I was notified, Mr. Daniels was notified that we will be, having a special performance audit by the Auditor General in regard to fund balance. I don't have a lot of other details. Our entrance audit is next Tuesday, so I'll be able to share with you next month some more details of what that entails. But I'm confident we will pass that like we do all the other auditing.
Can you send that forecast 5 that you showed me out to the board so they can see where we fall
Sure.
relative to the other?
What Mr. Renitis is referring to is he's also our finance chair, so I had showed him, I ran our software, the Forecast 5 that I'm trying to become more familiar with. I ran the 12 schools that will also have the special performance audit and to compare their millage and their fund balances compared to ours, so I'll send that to you. I only did it for 1 year. I'll send that out, but I may go back in if I have time to do the 5-year for you guys as well. I think 1 year shows what you need to see there. What else? Oh, and I was also advised this week that our cafeteria audit started. Mr. Daniels received an initial notification for our cafeteria audit in August. We had 6 weeks after that notification to complete a large number of financial uploads to the PDE system. And we did that, there were no issues, so then we moved on to the on-site portion of the audit. We had a few corrective actions, none business office related, some from the on-site component. And I responded to those corrective actions that they noted at the we're waiting for them to finalize the audit, and I was wondering why it hadn't been finalized, and I received notification this week that there's another arm to that audit. It's the procurement audit. Because it's federal funds, I'm sure Grace and Scott in other reports have talked about, we have different rules and limits when spending federal monies and when we buy things with federal monies. They're higher standard than just normal purchasing with local funds or state funds. So there are a number of items that we have to follow and extra additional steps you have to go through if you purchase anything. So we today started the process, I received it late yesterday afternoon, and hopefully we'll be able to respond by the end of this week. We have to respond by March 15th. So that's the last component, hopefully, and then they can complete that audit. So other than that, I've just been audit, and I don't have anything else this evening. It is.
Tonight on the agenda, you'll see the minutes for the curriculum committee that met about a week and a half ago. Very thoroughly done, I think. A lot of updates I was able to provide the committee.
Big typo.
Some of those, and the students actually have a couple of my items. Scheduling is underway. We heard that from the students at the high school, which is fantastic. This year, the high school team added other sessions for current ninth grade parents through 11th grade parents to actually attend parent sessions in the evening time, in addition to those incoming ninth graders. So it was very well attended to the parents. Brand new guidance counselor yesterday at my induction meeting was talking about how it's like speed dating. Every counselor sees every one of their children at our high school during registration, because they have to sit down with every child and validate and make sure that the child is getting the best schedule that they possibly can. And kids definitely put alternates in there if indeed the schedule doesn't work out. But for a brand new teacher, it was a high point, because she said this year I was able to see all of my kids within a few days. So that it's very, very busy up there. In addition to that, kindergarten registration is that time of the year. We're already starting to think still about next year. And that starts March 1st, and we digitized that process a number of years ago, and we're trying to refine it. March 1st, the link will be active on our website. The high school students also told you about the senior project. So March 4th is the day that all of our seniors will come back to the high school, even though it's a day off of school for the rest of the district. They come back to the high school and they have their exit presentations with our high school staff. And it's all career-based. And so they're going to be doing their presentations throughout the course of the day. And it's a very big day for our seniors to go through their senior project. I mentioned to you before, and I keep mentioning, the Site Logic work that's working on the high school, the middle school project. It's still meeting with our high school students who are interested in learning more about the career pathways that's happening right up there where you were at the site at the middle school. And they also are going on tours of the building site. So they, every couple of weeks, I think it's 6 to 8 weeks, they go for another tour like you've been doing as well. And one of the things that we shifted to this year, we decided to shift from wind instruments in 3rd grade, which used to be recorders, and we're shifting to ukuleles, which are string instruments. And so the music teachers have been wanting to make that shift. This was a perfect year to make that shift, because months ago we weren't quite sure if we were going to use a wind instrument at that level. It's a mandated thing that they would have to do, whereas our other band courses are more elective based. So we're hoping to see and expect good things out of our 3rd graders and their learning ability. Any questions so far? Have a great evening.
Thank you, Ms. Manning. Ms. Lane?
Alright, I have two things to report on today. The first one is the Act 16 expenditures. I typically report on this each year, and basically what I have to do each year is complete a report in which I look at all of the special education students in the district and how much we spend on each child. And what that looks into is tuition, so whether they are an out-of-district student who we're placing out of district or whether they're in district. In one of our specialized programming, we look and prorate the teacher salary, the para salary and benefits, break that down to a cost, and depending on how long during the year the kid is in the program, we end up finding a cost and allocating that cost to the kid. It also includes transportation, extended school year transportation, as well as other costs like OT, PT, speech and language, mental health therapy, vision, hearing, anything like that. So then what we do is I end up, there's a big spreadsheet, and we end up allocating a cost to each kid. Basically, I shouldn't say allocating, but it shows the expenses that we paid per child. And from there, the report requires us to categorize each individual into one of 4 categories. The first category is roughly 1 to 26,000. It's actually $26,717.95. So it changes each year. It goes down to a penny. But the second category is between about 26,000 to 53,000. The third category is 53,000 to roughly 80,000, and then the last category is 80,000 and above. Each year I report the numbers, and this year, just to let you know, that there are 989 students who were at some point during the 2020-2021 school year were educated by Canon-McMillan and received special education services. So of those 989, we had 11 students that were in category 4, which is the highest category of over $80,000 it took to educate those students. There were 28 students who it cost $53,000 to $80,000 to educate. 88 students it cost $26,000 to $53,000 to educate, and then the remainder were under that $26,000 mark. So to put that into a little perspective with last year we had 41 less students at some point engaged in our special education program over the course of the entire year, but we had 16, were in category 4 of spending $80,000 and over in that. I attribute the change from the 16 down to the 11 due to last year we did have some of our out-of-district placements were either remote, or the students had the opportunity to be remote or possibly hybrid. So some of that would reduce the transportation costs over the course of last year, as well as some of the other costs. You know, if someone has nursing on a van, then that would also eliminate that cost if transportation was no longer a factor. So that's just to summarize what those numbers looked like. Any questions about that?
What's about the state subsidy, is it going up?
So, Manu, her numbers directly feed into the formula, the special education formula. So depending what she reports in each category, there's factors, and that will be how they drive out our special ed funding dollars. It's not dollar for dollar. There's factors in each of those levels, but that ACT-team report is exactly where our special ed funding comes from.
The second thing, just to give a very brief summary on, I'm not sure if anyone has heard of the word CHILL as far as programming option, but we are engaging in the CHILL project that will be starting next year up at the high school. This is a program through AHN, and we're going to have a gentleman named Will Davies come to present a little bit at one of the future board meetings to give you a little bit more information about it. So today's just to let you know that it's happening. He's going to go into a little bit more of the details. But this is a program that's currently in a few of the districts in Allegheny County. We would be the first one in Washington County to have this programming. And basically it is behavioral and mental health prevention and intervention within our high school. And it's available to all students, not just special education students, but all students. It's also available to staff, and it also provides resources to families. It basically is a tiered, like I said, prevention and intervention that includes a school specialist, a therapist, or a psychiatrist based upon the level of need. And the whole program involves what is called a chill room, and so that's something that I would love to show you later on once we get to that point up at the high school. It also involves curriculum, it involves professional development, it It involves therapies, it involves medication management for those who would qualify. It also involves dedicated time to staff for tier 1 interventions, which is supposed to help with staff burnout and things like that, especially in, today's world. So, this is a great, intervention for, in the realm of mental health, and we are so excited, especially due to all of the changes in the last 2 years, to be able to move forward with this. We've already started in the planning process. I got off one meeting today. We have another meeting scheduled next Tuesday, and then we have meetings scheduled to start looking at what the actual room would look like. We're getting approval for the therapist office. All of that's happening, and we are super excited to just get it off the ground and start implementing hopefully next year. So I would love to have Will come to present to you to give you more details, since I did leave it pretty broad there. But also, once we get a space up and running, then we can also facilitate a tour of that as well.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Morgan, do you have anything?